Welcome everyone. Today we'll explore one of the most vibrant, emotionally expressive moments in the modern art history, Fauvism. This movement revolutionized how color was used in painting, emphasizing emotion over realism. Two figures stand out of this journey. That is Henri Matisse, also knowledge as the leader of the Fauvists, and also Vicent van Gogh, whose influence paved the way for Fauvism to emerge. Fauvism began in France in the early 1900s and shocked the art world with its wild, vibrant colors and the disregard for traditional representation. It was officially born at the Salon d'Automne in the 1905, where critics dubbed the artist Les Fauves or Wild Beast, so the name stuck with them. So this movement was the reaction to the academy painting its style and even the subtlety impressionism. Artists like Matisse believed that color should serve as expression and not as a description. So let's define what makes a painting Fauvist. One of the points is that it's not naturalistic and it has both color. Artists painted grass in red, skies in orange, and faces in green. Expressive brush strokes. Lines were spontaneous and loose. Another point is the simplified forms. The subject wasn't the priority, it was how it felt. And also the flatness and the lack of perspective. Fauves rejected the illusion of depth and also emotional impact. Above all, the goal was to make the viewer feel something with the painting. This element combined to break away from the realism and bring the view directly into the artist's experience. Now, one of the most important parts. Let's talk about Henri Matisse, or also known as the leader of Fauvism. Henri Matisse is the most recognized Fauvist. He started in law but turned into painting after an illness. His early works show influence from post-impressionists like Cézanne, Van Gogh, and Gauguin. Matisse once said, "I use colors as a means of expressing my emotion, not as a tool of description." His works offer escape, peace, and joy, especially in a world that will soon face a war. So, two of the most notable works of Matisse was The Woman with the Hat, that is a portrait of his wife, shocking for its green stripe down her face and bright orange and blues. And here we have The Joy of Life from 1905 to Xeroxis, that is an utopian scene of nudes dancing and resting in a colored landscape. Here we have this notable characteristic of Fauvism, that is that color doesn't represent what is real. Perhaps it represents what the artist felt in that moment. And here we notice that maybe how he said is an utopian scene where everybody can be nude, the temperature is warm, the weather is very intense, and this is how the artist felt about the colors. So what about Van Gogh? Van Gogh wasn't a Fauvist, but his influence is undeniable. He born in 1853 He used painting as a way to cope with emotional struggles. His innovations laid to the groundwork for the Fauves. Van Gogh's courage in expressing feeling through color was a beacon for the younger generation of artists, including Matisse. Here we have the most popular artwork from Van Gogh, that is the Starry Night. And the Starry Night wasn't about realism, it was about inner turmoil and hope. And also, we can notice one of the Van Gogh's techniques about painting, that is color as emotion. We can see blues and yellows that maybe through his sadness he also can see the light. Also, he used the impasto technique, that is a thick and expressing paint application added texture and movement. We can also add this artwork, that is the sunflowers, and we can add also a technique that Van Gogh used, that is symbolism over accuracy. In the sunflowers, yellow represent light and love. This serial pieces of the sunflowers also symbolizes the gratitude and also is the most iconic pieces from Van Gogh. So let's compare both artists to better understand their relationship. With the movement, we have Henri Matisse with the Fauvism and also Vicent van Gogh with post-impressionism. With color use, Matisse is with flat, vibrant, and decorative colors. On the other hand, Vicent van Gogh used color as symbolic, emotive, and sometimes dark. The brushwork is smooth and controlled with the Fauvism of Matisse, and with Van Gogh is energetic and textured with the impasto technique. Also, we have the emotional tone that is joyful, serene with Matisse, and with Van Gogh, we have the other hand that is very intense and introspective. The forms in Fauvism with Matisse are simplified and abstracted, and with Van Gogh, they are distorted and expressive. While their goals were different, Matisse sought peace, Van Gogh sought truth. Both broke away from tradition in deeply influential ways. Here we have another two examples of each artist. That is the Matisse portrait of Madame Matisse and also Van Gogh's Terrace at Night. We can see the comparison that we did before in the table that mentions that Matisse used these vibrant colors and he didn't want to make some realism with these paintings. On the other hand, Van Gogh used yellow and blue, as he's recognized for, to express maybe light, hope, sadness, whatever he needs to express with those colors. Fauvism legacy in modern art. Fauvism only lasted about 3 years as a formal movement, but its impact was lasting. It freed color for representational duties. It encouraged personal expressions and leading to expressionism, cubism, and abstract art. Also, it showed artists that emotion could be the subject of art itself. Today, Matisse's influence is felt in abstract painting, modern design, and even fashion. Van Gogh's emotive approach is celebrated in both popular culture and high art. To conclude, Fauvism was a brief but a powerful. It was about feeling and not perception. Matisse and Van Gogh thought different in temperament. Each opened the door for future generations to see art not as an imitation but as an expression. Fauvism asks us to feel first, analyze later, and that perhaps is the greatest gift of this art movement. As Matisse once said, creativity takes courage. Exploring Fauvism has completely transformed the way I understand art. What struck me to the most is how color, often seen as a tool to replicate reality, became a language of emotion through the works of Matisse and the influence of Van Gogh. Personally, I find it inspiring that these artists chose not to represent the world as it is, but as they felt it. This approach makes their art feel more honest and even it's abstract or exaggerated. I also admire how Matisse embraced joy in his work. In a time filled with political and social turmoil, he still believed that art could be an escape, a source of peace and comfort, and meanwhile Van Gogh's intensity and vulnerability moved me deeply. His brushstrokes seems to mirror in his inner life, and that kind of courage is something I deeply respect. In my opinion, Fauvism teaches us to value emotional truth in creativity. It's not about painting what others see, but about sharing. As I was saying, Fauvism is also for sharing what you feel. The lesson is valuable not just for how we express ourselves in any form. Ultimately, both Matisse and Van Gogh remind me that there is power in being bold, expressive, and human. And I think there is no other thing that represents more humanity than art because it's the way human have been expressing themselves through the years, through history. And Fauvism is this example of how art is not meant to be perfect, but as a tool to express ourselves. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you like this, I hope you read more information in legal